The trade rumors are heating up around the Chicago Bulls. They've been once again mentioned as a team that could pursue Domantas Sabonis at this year's trade deadline. Does that make sense for the Chicago Bulls? We're going to talk about it all and more. And Pat, I need you to hit the intro button because my thing froze again.
Oh, shoot. Hold on. On today's
Locked On Bulls.
Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I use that time with Pat button to refresh my computer. We back in. That's Pat, the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze, and host of the Chicago over at ESPN 1000.
It's just gone.
He's host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central. Today's episode is brought to you guys by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Pat, late last night, no, not late. It wasn't really late. It was more towards the evening.
Yeah.
Weinbach pointed out that the Bulls could be a team that's interested in Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah, how you said it, it was like a disdainful. We got Weinbach over here.
Oh no, there's nothing for him. I mean, he's just reporting on what he's heard. I have no disdain for him at all. I just wish that the rumors would stop. That what you heard in my voice is more so these rumors. Domantas Sabonis, bro. Like I want to talk. I think the place that we need to talk about it is because I think we're both gonna have the same mindset on it. But like, what could be some of the positives? What could be some of the negatives? What we sit on it. And one of the positives that I do see about Domantas Sabonis, he's one of the best defensive rebounders in the game of basketball. Yes. And with the Bulls giving up so many second chance points, the defense that he could potentially bring could be huge. Also, he's not averaging a lot of assists this year because his teammates are DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, but he's averaged 9 assists per game over the last couple of seasons. On top of that, like he's a legit triple-double threat. And to have two of those guys on the court in Josh Giddey and Domantas Sabonis could open up a lot of things for you offensively. Just sticking on the positives right now, Pat, I think we're both going to have more negatives, but what are some of the positives about potentially trading for Domantas Sabonis?
Listen, Sabonis is a younger version of what you currently have in Vooch. I think he's a little bit better of a defender. He's gotten back to, quiet as is kept, some of the defensive skill set that we saw from him when he was with Indiana. Now, it wasn't elite defense, but it was you can tell that the team around him has been more focused on run and gun scoring type. And now maybe they're playing a play style that fits his game a little bit more and he can lock in. But with all that being said, I look at him as somebody who consistently can get you a double-double, who can facilitate extremely well, is one of the best passing bigs in basketball, has been for quite some time now. And honestly, somebody who, when a guy like Josh Giddey is off the floor, you truly could run your offense through completely and be happy and feel very content right there. But, you know, the likely scenario here is you're getting a player back who, even if he reaches his highs of highs, is very similar to what you currently have in Nikola Vucevic with a little bit younger age, which I guess getting younger in that sense is not a bad thing.
Yeah, 6 years younger than Vooch. In that case, I tell you what, though, this kind of, when we traded for Vooch, he was 29 years old. This would feel very similar when we traded for Vooch in a lot of areas. Sabonis is better. I want to say
we got a point guard now. It's different because we got a
point guard. Yeah, and so he's better, but that leads us to the negatives, Pat. He gets paid twice as much as Vooch, which is $40 million, which if you're using some of your expirings of players that you think may not be, like, for example, if you traded Zach Collins and Kevin Huerter for Domantas Sabonis, I'm not necessarily mad at that. Now, I do think it's going to take more than that. It's going to take some draft capital. I'm not necessarily mad at that, but adding $40 million to take off a little bit of your flexibility of next year is a question, which then brings the question of keeping Io and Kobe, which, you know, people are already questioning. And he does nothing for our defense, really. Like you said, he's a better defender than Vooch, but not by that large of a margin. He does nothing for rim protection. Vooch averages a block per game for his career. Sabonis, I think, is like a half a block per game for his career. So he does nothing for the rim protection aspect of it. It would very much so be taking what you've already seen and just getting a better, more refined version of that. But it really wouldn't do much for the defensive limitations that we've seen from the Bulls, and the Bulls have slid all the way down to they're like the second worst defensive team in the league now. That would be one of my biggest concerns. What about you, Pat?
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think his defensive rating right now is around 117. He's actually had a defensive rating. He had a defensive rating last year of 112, which is
that's not bad at all.
It's not a bad defensive rating at all. But the one thing I will say, and I do agree with you, I think that it doesn't do anything for your rim protection. But as far as being an improved defender, the one thing that we can say, at least how it had been going, it seems like that's falling off a cliff when guys just don't give a dang on the court no more. But Billy Donovan usually gets the most out of a player defensively with true style of team that he runs. So could I see Domantas Sabonis coming over here and being maybe a little bit better defender than we've seen him be throughout his career? I could see that happening. And I think he was more of a defender in his time in Indiana, but it's not rim protection. Like, you had Sabonis and you had Miles Turner on the floor because Miles Turner did all the blocking and Sabonis basically provided the body before Miles Turner needed to go up and block a shot. What I will say about the bottom line for me is this. I don't think that this changes your team enough for you to give up draft capital. That's really what it comes down to me.
And that's a fair point.
You have to, if you're giving up draft capital again, and I think that's a given that it has to be given up, unless we're talking about like, all right, if we're talking like what we've seen in the past, I'm giving up 11 second round picks. I don't, okay.
So even the Portland pick though, Pat, if it's let's say that they want to clear the salary, they look at it, they just want an additional first. If you give them expiring matching salary, so it's off the books because the bonus has 3 years left, what would that change? If it's the Portland pick, which does look like it's going to convey either this year or next year, and expirings, would that make you more in on the Sabonis trade?
I would rather have a bird in the hand than two in the bush.
Okay.
I would rather, if it's the Portland pick, and I know like now it's finally like it's going to finally convey, but it is a first round pick that would have to be outside of the top 18, right? So you're talking about a 19 through 32 pick. You can find really good players there. I think you can find a rim protecting big there, but I don't know if you can find a better center than Domantas Sabonis there right now. So if it's expirings in the Portland pick, I would be fine with that. I wouldn't trip on that at all, especially if you're keeping your own pick.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point there too. Or maybe you can do it to where it's the least favorable between where the Portland pick and the Bulls pick sits. Maybe it's something like that that you can look at as well. Yeah.
Would can I trade the Portland pick for Danny Wolf and just get that pick? I want Danny Wolf, dog.
We know you want Danny Wolf.
They're just letting them sit there.
Me and you are both kind of not as big on the Sabonis trade.
No.
How much more will we like it because keep in mind, when we traded for Vooch, the thought process then was P. Will is going to turn into the defensive power forward next to Vooch to overcome some of his defensive limitations. How much more of an onus does that put on Noah Essengay to develop into that defensive power forward? And do you trust that like Noah Essengay's rim protection could, over the next 3 years we would have Sabonis, be enough to overcome some of Sabonis's defensive limitations?
I can't trust anything with Noah Essengay yet. I don't know what he is. Like we know what he was in France. We know what he is in the G League. That don't mean he's going to be that at the NBA level. Like I can't trust anything right now with where Noah Essengay is because one, is he going to weigh enough? Two, is he going to be consistent enough defensively? Is he going to be able to slow things down? Is he going to be able to match up in a double big lineup? There's a lot of teams in the NBA right now that are going back to a double big lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Like the size is coming back to the league.
But it's funny because it's still like you look at Evan Mobley in Cleveland, like, yeah, they're using double bigs, but Evan Mobley still handles the ball like a guard. Like the NBA is about to get real scared. If you have these big players that are adding traditional size back, but can still do some ball handling like guards, bro, it's about to be real crazy around the NBA.
Bro, and you see, like, I mean, that truly is like, that's kind of what you need. It's why I wouldn't be out on Sabonis. I do think it raises the bar on Noah Essengay where it has to hit, or on Matas Buzelis, who I mean, 6'10". Hey, buddy, maybe play like these last couple of games. But I look at it as a situation where you have to start asking real questions on, okay, the guy that is next to Sabonis, how is he able to make up for the deficiencies of Sabonis? And like you said, I think where you lack with Evan Mobley, you get it all back in Jared Allen. Where you lack with Bam Adebayo, you get some of that help defensively with a guy like Khalil Ware, who's very defensively, he all right, but he's starting to get a little Hassan Whiteside-ish to him. The more I'm watching Khalil Ware, I'm like, that might be Hassan, bro.
Bro, and that was on the Heat too. You're gonna traumatize Heat fans, bro. You're gonna traumatize.
Like it's interesting to me it will be interesting to me to see how the Bulls would build off of that. Very similar to what you said. Like, it was supposed to be P. Will, now it's supposed to be Modest.
Yeah.
Bro, what if they trade Vooch to the Kings?
Please, for the love of God, make that happen, bro. For the love of God. Vooch going to the Kings to be there with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine would be
hey, Vooch will finally be for
Bulls
real.
West.
Bro, Vooch will finally be for real and be like, buy me out.
Yeah, bro.
Buy me out, bro. I'm not doing this.
Here. But with that said, man, we're going to continue the conversation talking about the trade aspects and do the recent kind of losing and stuff like that. Does it make it more likely or less likely that the Chicago Bulls do make a trade? But first, we got to get to a message from Game Time. Basketball season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in. The app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that with Game Time, what you see is what you pay. No hidden fees at checkout. You can see exactly what your view looks like before you buy your tickets as well with their in-app seat view feature. The zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and let's go. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, Pat. So with all this trade talk, there's also some trade talk around Trey Murphy. We're going to talk about that tomorrow because I think Trey Murphy is one of those acquisitions that I would not beat mine. The Bulls going all in on, but we'll save that for tomorrow's episode.
Yeah.
But let's talk about just the generalities around trade. We've talked a lot ad nauseum over this offseason about all the assets the Bulls have: $90 million in expiring contracts, $20 million in trade exceptions, all your first round picks, the Portland pick. You have probably the most asset rich trade deadline that the Bulls have ever had if they do want to get. It's a big if, though. Do you think that they are more or less likely with what we've seen now recently to make a trade?
Did you hear Io's comments yesterday?
Yesterday? No, I did not.
Yeah, no. Was it yesterday? After the game?
Yes.
Io's comments after the game. I don't know how you can when, by the way, literally just absolved his head coach. I don't know how you can when you have so many players who are vocal about literally the team just not doing what the coaches are telling them to do and doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
How you can keep guys like that around. Like, you literally have Nikola Vucevic. You literally have Ayo Dosunmu, who, I mean, two leaders of the team. Are they probably the two leaders of this Bulls? I would say so.
Yeah. Literally
going, Billy tells us what to do. We run out on the court. Guys don't do it. How do you keep those players on your team? I think the losses and the team opening up in that manner, if you're AK, you got to look in the mirror at some point and go, these guys might not be it. The guys that we want to pay might not be it. The guys that we have paid might not be it. Like, that is such a damning, it's not even a report, statement from your two biggest players on your team. Ayo literally said, yeah, they tell us what to do. and we just choose to do the opposite. What? That is putting all the onus on the players. How do you continue to ride with that kind of team when it's the same issues that we've been talking about for what? Since 2021?
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if we see no moves because of these losses.
Yeah, I mean, one of the words that AK, I know everybody, and myself included, has taken AK's words when he said we're not skipping steps. And that's great. But there was another part in that he said is that we're evaluating the players on this roster for long-term fit. So that tells me is that anybody that they see as, whether it's personality, whether it's skill set, whether it's the vibe with the coach, that isn't a long-term fit, at that point in time, if you've identified our question, even if you question still that they're a long-term fit by January, you should go out and get a guy that you feel like is going to use them to go out and get players that you feel will be long-term fits for whatever that is, right? So I know that AK has not been a very active GM for years, right? And he spent a long time not making some big and key moves. I just think that with everything that's at their disposal now, it'll be damn near malpractice to not, like with some of the names that we hear that's available out there, stuff like that. Like, I'm not saying that just because the names are available means the Bulls can put together the best package, but for any team that's just like, listen, we don't want long-term salary back and we want to pick, the Bulls should be right there at the top of that because they can match just about any salary and it not be a long-term burden to whatever team is taking them unless they're trying to put P. Will. That would be like the AK thing is like, we want expiring salary. And AK's like, P. Will? Expiring salary. We got this guy named Patrick here. What about that Kevin Huerter guy? No. Patrick.
Then he signs Kevin Huerter.
Yeah, and then he signs Kevin Huerter. So.
Then he trades him for his own pick back. But no, like I think that this to me should be the trial run of, do you have pieces here that are worth building with? Like that's what the beginning of this season should be. And yes, this team usually catches its I don't want to say fire because I can't say that, but they usually hit a nice little stride, usually going into December, going into January, right? We see the Bulls start to play a little bit better. So maybe that's what you're waiting for. But I'll be honest with you, as you start to approach this year's trade deadline, like continuing down the same direction with the same pieces is insanity. And your main pieces, for the most part, your big names, for the most part, are the same pieces that have been here for years. I know that now it's a different iteration of it with Kobe, with Io, with you still got Vooch on the team, but you're kind of still running that same, let's see what we can get out of these guys that have been here the entire time that this team has sucked. That's kind of insane.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's one of those things where as the GM, like you have to have your finger on the pulse there, and you have to be honest with yourself about where you see these players that are currently on your roster, like being after this offseason. Like, and even then, you not only if your desire to keep them, but like what's the reality that they're going to want to stay. Like if you get any inkling, for example, that Collins and Kevin Huerter are like, listen, we proved ourselves we can be really good role players on this Bulls team. We want to go join the championship team's bench. Trade them now. Like trade them now. Like not to say that they can't help and that they aren't good players for us because they have been, but if you get any inkling that hey, these guys may go look to chase rings, which is their right, get rid of them. So.
Is this? I don't want this turned into like a meathead conversation, but like, is this a situation where it's why you take a chance on somebody who would be a big contract player that maybe you can find a way out of, right? A Zion Williamson, I don't know if it's actually going to happen. I saw Kawhi rumors popping up, like where, because there's no world where AK bottoms out.
Right,
like
yeah,
that's 100. We all know that there's no world where we tank.
Right.
Is it a situation where if you're not going to tank, the best case scenario is for you to go star hunting at this point and take a chance on somebody who, yes, is going to take up a lot of your cap, but if you want to throw a Ja Morant name in there is not a player that is as talented as Ja Morant on this team. If you want to throw a Zion, there's not a player as talented as Zion on this team. If you want to go with one of the older stars, like because I don't see another avenue that makes sense for this team.
So my thing with that has always been, Pat, is that and I want to be clear. I get what you're saying in that completely, but like I always have had the feeling like you got to become a playoff team first before you go star hunting, because the last thing you want to do is give up a bunch of assets to get a star in here just to become a playoff team, and then now you're strapped. You don't have anything else to get you over that hump of just being a playoff team. That's kind of been my mindset. Yeah. But then again, to your point, like you got Josh Giddey averaging damn near a triple-double. You got Kobe White coming in averaging basically 25 points on decent efficiency overall from the field. The last game from three killed his efficiency from three. You got your two young pieces in Modest and Noah Essengay that you hope are going to develop and hit new strides. So like if you're able to keep the difference is when the Bulls brought in DeMar and Lonzo and all those guys, they didn't have that young player in the wing. They had P. Will and it didn't work out. Right. But now that you have Modest and Noah, my appetite for giving up picks is a little bit increased, just because if you really believe that these guys are at least going to be competent starters and maybe more than that, you got those young guys that could develop if you do make that move for a star that could then potentially take you over that hump. So, I mean, it's an interesting. I wouldn't be mad if he does it. It'll be the most aggressive thing AK's done here. I just still don't know if he will do it.
It's so tough too, because it's like all the stars that are available or players that have star talent. It's like, Ja Morant may come with a gun charge. Freaking, Zion may, just single-handedly shut down Portillo's. It's like there's not a great option for you to go big star hunting. And I get he keeps saying this summer of 26. I don't know what he see. He got some magical names that's available.
Well, I mean, I think personally, I've always taken that as, if you look at the restricted free agents, there's some really good restricted free agents, which means that AK may be ready to sign a big offer sheet. So that's the thing that I've always looked at, because just the unrestricted free agents, there's not a lot of great names there at all. There's some names I'd be interested in. Like I'd be interested in a Mark Williams, but he's not healthy enough for me to feel confident he's your center of the future. If you just want to change your style of center where you find your center of the future, I'd be interested in Mark Williams. Walker Kessler's still a name that I'd be highly interested in. Jalen Duren was somebody that I had on my restricted free agent list, but with how he's playing now, there's no way the Pistons are letting him go.
No.
There's no way. Jaden Ivey, they'll let Jaden Ivey walk in restricted free agency before Jalen Duren at this point.
And I got Jaden Ivey at home.
Yeah, I mean,
that's kind of how I feel on that one. But hey, man, we'll keep the conversation moving on the other side, and always, of course, got to talk about this Zach Collins return update. Good to get Zach back eventually. He's not gonna make up for 25 rebounds though. Must be like, wait till we get Zach Collins back. He gonna turn into the greatest rebounder of all time? Like, what?
That's hilarious.
But first, we got to tell you guys all about Drip Drop. And as my ad read, there we go. When I'm hydrated, everything just works better. My focus, my energy, my mood, even my skin. That's why I've been using Drip Drop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day may look like. Drip Drop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands, using science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams. And right now, Drip Drop is offering our podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNBA for 20% off. Stock up now before this heat hits hard, and keep your body and mind performing at their best with Drip Drop. More Locked On Bulls coming up next.
All right, Pat, before we get up out of here, quick update on Zach Collins. Zach Collins is slated to return to full practice for the Chicago Bulls at the end of this week, which then puts him back. Billy Donovan said they're aiming for him to try to make his return that first week of December. I think that's kind of both what we kind of looked at as well. So take the rest of this week off, come back to practice towards the end of this week, and then maybe try to get back out there on the court next week sometime, that first week of December. How do you feel about getting Zach Collins back?
Listen, I think it does help. I think it added a toughness that the Bulls were lacking last year, and maybe it's a toughness that this team needs. Again, when you listen to Ayo Dosunmu's comments, it just sounds like a team that more times than not has given up and hasn't been able to push through, that wall of, I guess, toughness, if you want to call it that. The biggest thing for me with where the team is at right now, and what they need is an ability to combat some of the two big lineups that you're going to face. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of those around the NBA starting to pop up, and a lot of them that are getting pretty good. I mean, you look down in Houston, you look at what they're doing in, of course, when they play Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren in Detroit. You see what they already have in Cleveland. You see what, like, there's a bunch there that there's a bunch of teams around the league that you're going to have to match up with. I like the opportunity to get Jalen Smith and Zach Collins on the floor possibly at the same time, because I think it gives you two bigs that have a little bit of mobility while still being able to go out there and compete defensively and offensively. And I think that's something that the Bulls are going to have to find a way to make work, especially depending on what you do at the trade deadline. So it'll be good to get Zach Collins back, and hopefully he's able to provide some of the stuff that we've missed. But listen, quiet as it's kept, Jalen Smith has done a really good job in Zach Collins' absence.
Yeah, for sure. And I do like the fact that Billy's already talked about, like, once Zach Collins comes back, that's when they're going to be open to using more double bigs, because he does want to find a way to keep Jalen Smith's minutes as close to the same as possible with the way that Jalen's performed. And shout out to Billy for recognizing, like, hey, Jalen's playing really well right now, and we got to find a way to keep him on the court. But Zach Collins does bring a little bit more rim protection, a little bit more defense and toughness as well. And so I'm actually interested to see what those two guys can look like out there on the court together. So just getting your guys all back. You want your to take a full evaluation of your roster. Getting him back here at the beginning of December will give you basically 2 months, all of December, all of January, to evaluate before the trade deadline on where you feel this team is, where you feel the holes are, and then again for that long-term fit that AK talked about.
Yeah, listen, and that's what you got to find. You got to start to find some long-term fits, and right now you got long-term questions.
Yeah. A lot.
You got guys that have been here. You got guys that have been here 5 years, 6 years, and you're like, I don't know if he's an answer on this team. I don't like. We got to start finding.
You should know AK by now. He's been here 5 years. AK.
If we're 5 years into this, he's like, is Kobe Wade really a part of the future? That should be an answer we have. Kobe's been on this team since 2017.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Kobe has almost been on this team 10 years.
Yeah, bro, that's wild. It's wild, bro. Think about it this way. Some people, like younger fans, Kobe White is the player that they remember in the Bulls uniform the most. Either Kobe or Zach. Think about it.
He got drafted 19. Larry was 17. Okay. I thought to be like, has Kobe White been here 10 years? But that's crazy, bro.
Still, that's still a long time, bro.
7 years.
Yeah. So it's a long time that these guys that Kobe's been here. So, we'll see what AK ends up doing, man. I think it'll be an interesting trade deadline. I do think a move is going to be made. The size of the move, I don't know, but I do think AK makes some type of move this year at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I think so. I think you've kind of, if you continue to play this way, you're going to lose Vooch. And it seems like he's kind of irritated with the situation as it is right now already. You got to imagine he's tired of losing. It's probably going to come to a point where Vooch has to go to Vooch has to go to AK, and he's like, please put me out of my misery. Put me down.
Yeah, that's funny.
Let me out of here.
That's
but nah, man, we'll see what ends up happening. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Show love as always. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer.
Follow me at CEO Haize. Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, and Fubo TV. Basically, anywhere you want it, you can get it. We'll catch you guys bright early tomorrow morning. Are we doing the show tomorrow, Pat? It's Thanksgiving. I know. No, taking the day off? Okay, we'll see you guys on Friday. There you go. We'll see you guys on Friday. Me and Pat will probably be drunk a lot. And Stranger Things is out. Go watch Stranger Things.
Hey, brother, I'm about to lose some time.
See you guys on Friday, man. Peace, y'all.
Peace.